Kia ora tātou, welcome to this video where we will look at how to name ions. So there's two types of ions that we need to be able to name. One is monatomic ions and the other is polyatomic ions. So monatomic ions are ions that just have one atom in there, and then polyatomic ions have got multiple atoms and they form an ion altogether. So within monatomic ions there's two types of ions that have different ways of naming. So one is an anion. So anions are negative ions. So a way you can think of that is a negative ion, and then cation, you can think of this T as a positive sign. So anions just means a negative ion and cation just means a positive ion. So to name negative ions, we'll take O2- for example. So this would be the oxygen atom before it's gained those extra electrons. When we call them an anion, we add "ide" to the end of the ion, to the end of the name. So instead of oxygen, this is going to be called oxide. And then if we had F-, for example, this would be called fluoride. And then S2- would be called sulfide. So you can try some others yourself. Maybe, for example, Br-. You can give that a go. So then cations. So we would have Na cation, anything with a positive charge. So Na+. We just keep the name the same. So this is a sodium atom without the charge. When it's got the charge, it's a sodium ion. We could have a magnesium Mg2+ ion. Magnesium is the atom. Magnesium ion is the ion. So it's really just anions that we need to know anything about how to change the name. Cations just stay the same. So polyatomic ions, these are a little bit more difficult, and really we just need to, there's a bit of a pattern, but we mostly need to memorize them. So the polyatomic ions that we need to know are CO3 2-. So that means that we've got 3 oxygen atoms, 1 carbon atom, and amongst the whole thing, we've gained 2 electrons. So CO3 2-, SO4 2-, NO3-. We could have HCO3-, and we could have OH-. So these are all negative ions, and the way we name these, and so they normally end up with an 8. So an 8 indicates that there's an oxygen involved, or multiple oxygen involved. So this is called carbonate. This is called sulfate. Notice the difference between sulfate and sulfide. Sulfate has got oxygen, it's got 4 oxygens, whereas sulfide has got no oxygens. It's just the sulfur atom having gained electrons. So that's a common mistake. So then this one has got nitrogen, this is called nitrate. This H and then CO3, we recognize CO3 from up there. This is called hydrogen carbonate, and this is called hydroxide. We just need to remember that one. But you'll hear hydroxide a lot more when we talk about acids and bases. Then there's one positive ion that we need to know, which is NH4+. This is called ammonium. So, find ways to memorize these. It's basically a memorizing game. In the exam and the resource booklet, you will get a table of ions, which will just have the formulas. So it would have NH4+, and you just need to know that that's called ammonium. Or OH-, you need to know that that's called hydroxide. So learning the names is important, but you do get the little prompts in the exam there. But definitely having this memorized will mean that in the exam you'll be using up less of your working memory, and you'll be able to focus more on what the question is asking. Thanks very much for watching this. Hope that helps. See you for the next video.